There's something so intensely familiar about the cuddly stranger standing in your closet. The combination of his massive stature and the soft materials he wears produces an almost irresistible urge to hug him. And the aura of safety he emanates certainly doesn't help.
Well, well, well. Aren't you a sight for sore eyes? Yeah! You are very welcome. You are so kind to express your gratitude like that. I feel like that's a bit of a lost art these days. To be honest, it's just so nice that you can really feel your gratitude. It feels good. It's one of my favorite things. Right behind fresh hot chocolate, warm in a mug in my hands. Oh, and munching on a big bowl of popcorn. Ooh, and going for a beautiful, long, slow meander out in the fresh air and taking deep breaths and listening to the trees. There's a lot to love around us, huh? What are some of your favorite things? Ha! There you go! I must have made hot chocolate 100 different ways in my life, and every time, it's just the best. I think at this point I might be mostly made of hot chocolate. Not that I'm complaining. It makes sense that I would be warm and delicious. Tell me, what brought you around to see me? Not at all. Not for me, anyway. Closets are some of my favorite rooms in a house. Get a good cozy blanket, a candle, and close that door and you've got a perfect little cocoon. A little nest of peace and safety. You're welcome to share mine. Or we can sit on the bed and talk. I'm comfortable in either place. And no matter where I am, I'll always be happy to be with you. I'll leave it up to you. Where should I go? So comfy. So now that we're all comfy, how about a good bit of wisdom? Being that it's daylight out, I got some advice to give you. For me, it's advice in the daytime, stories at night. Want to hear some advice? Got a nice punchy one for you today. Here's the wind-up. Learn how to throw a really good punch. Now, hang on there. I'm not saying to go around punching everyone right this minute. Although, if you decide to take that boxing class, that's probably pretty good advice. But you'll learn to throw one. A solid one that comes from the hips. It'll make you stronger, make you feel powerful and more confident in yourself. And if you're anything like me, it makes you feel pretty darn cool too. When I'm feeling down, sometimes I just stand in the mirror and throw a few really good punches. And all of a sudden, I've got my swagger back. Give it a try. I'll be cheering for you. Stay frosty. Got some good advice for you today. I've dealt with a busted computer many a time, and this trick has helped me more than I can say. Kept me from breaking more than a few computers out of sheer frustration. Indeed it is. And this will work almost regardless of what the problem is with the computer. I've seen it work for all kinds of issues. Now, buckle up. To fix a problem on a computer, any problem, you unplug it, and then you plug it right back in. It's foolproof, I tell you. Incidentally, it also works with toasters. I'm a humble bear, but yes, see you around, buddy. Oh, this one. This is the biggie, buddy. It's a good one. The Great Constructing of Beaver Proudtail. It was very early in the morning, one cold and foggy day, a very long time ago. Young Beaver Proudtail was walking quietly and efficiently through the dugout tunnels of his den, his trusty stick tucked confidently under one arm. It was at this time every morning that the young beaver made his rounds, through the whole den where his colony lived, and then up and out the riverbank, where the world he knew, the world he vigilantly protected, met the strangeness of outside. His large tail balanced him expertly as he climbed the long entrance tunnel to the surface, occasionally using his dignified stick in an undignified manner to scramble up the pathway. As he heaved himself out onto the bank of the river, Beaver's attentiveness grew even more acute. It was dangerous to be outside alone. It seemed like there had always been the war. He couldn't remember any outright battles or even any scrappy skirmishes, but they were definitely at war. He was sure of it. For a moment, he almost asked himself what the war was even about. But he forgot to finish the question. He was very young, after all, and what did it matter? The colony was on the other side of the river, and beavers didn't even cross rivers. He smartly tucked his stick back under his arm and began his patrol. So many steps this way, a scrutinizing scan, and so many steps back. But today, something was different. On the other bank of the river, through the fog, he heard the distinctive sounds of battle. "On guard, ye scum-footed knave!" the voice cried. "Defy me at your peril!" The sounds of the wood clanging against wood echoed through the fog. Hey-ya! Pow! Bing, bang, boom! "Thank you." "Who goes there?" shouted Beaver, his heart in his little throat. As an answer, he heard a young and high-pitched yelp. "Ah! My name is Builder." "Hi?" "Hi." It was all Beaver could manage. He was talking to another creature, a stranger, and a stranger from across the river at that. How many times had the colony council, the denizen, warned him about the dangers of this? It was strictly against the rules, and Beaver had always followed the rules. "Hi!" The voice came careening back across the water. "What's your name?" Beaver heaved a deep breath. Whoever this builder was, Beaver was not going to be shown less brave than he. "I'm Beaver. Beaver Proudtail." "Well, hello, Beaver Patton. Builder Jumpfoot's my name. I'm playing at war. Want to join me?" "I most certainly do not," cried Beaver. "Playing at war? War is serious business, not for playing. My colony is in a war right now, and I'm going to be a general when I grow up. I'm going to win that war. You'll see." "Oh, gosh," sighed Builder. "I sure hope you do. My colony is in a war too, and I'm so tired of it. That's why I made it a game. Games are so much less boring than warring all the time." The pieces began rapidly whirling around in Beaver's mind. Builder's colony. He's at war too. Right across the river. He realized he was talking to a beaver from the colony across the river, his sworn enemy since birth. Just then, the wind blew a gentle clearing in the fog, and the two young beavers saw each other for the first time. They could have been twins. Bright black eyes, thick tails, strong sticks, embellished with their colony colors. Builder's face broke into a broad grin. "You look just like me!" Scoffed Beaver. "I'd say you look just like me!" Builder laughed. The two regarded each other in amazement for another moment. It was the first time either of them had seen a denizen from the other colony. Builder leaned down and hefted up a perfect pebble from the riverside. Not too big, not too small. He tossed it up. With perfect timing, he swung his stick easily, and Beaver heard it crack as it met the pebble in midair and sent it winging across the water. Instinctively, Beaver reached out and caught it in his paw. Now he was accepting contraband? What would his parents say? But, upon inspection, the pebble was quite beautiful. It had a single bold red stripe around it, and it was wet from the riverside mud. His young mind decided that he would keep it. He would keep it a secret, of course, and that was all right. The denizen didn't have to know everything. The clearing and the fog began to fill with thickened air. He looked up, suddenly anxious to lose his new friend. Friend? Huh. How quickly that had happened. And there Builder was, smiling and waving. "Maybe we'll play together again soon," he offered. Beaver gripped the pebble and nodded. Yes. Yes, maybe. One day." And then Builder was lost. Beaver finished his patrol and took his new experience, his pebble, and his smartly tucked stick back down to the colony. "How you doing, buddy? Need a break?" Many seasons had passed since that morning when Beaver Proudtail, all grown up, marched through the tunnels of his colony toward his audience with the denizen. Today was the day he'd been anticipating his whole life. Today, he would be made an under-general of the colony, and he'd finally have the chance to present his machine. See, the machine he envisioned was a daring one. He was prepared for pushback and doubt from the council. The longest, in particular. The longest had been the leader of the denizens for most of his life, and she was not always interested in things new or unfamiliar. Beaver's machine was both. But he believed in it, and he was determined to persevere. He rapped on the denizen chamber door. Knock, knock. "Enter!" He took a deep breath and pushed. "My goodness, Beaver," sighed the longest, brows knitted. "This machine is quite an undertaking, and you won't even tell us what it does." "Yes, ma'am," Beaver nodded. "It must be kept a secret, for now, but I promise it will conclusively end this war." The longest considered. "Normally, I would say no. Unfamiliar can be dangerous, and outright new, well..." She stroked her silver-gray whiskers. The other council members watched her reverently. "But we have all seen the construction beginning on the other side of the river. We have no way of knowing what they're up to, and it would be irresponsible of us to take no action at all. They're doing something. We must do something too." Deep murmurs of assent rippled around the small stump table. "And we trust Beaver. He is our newest under-general, after all." She winked in his direction. "If he believes his machine will truly and finally tip the balance of the Great War in our favor." She paused. The silence was agonizing. Beaver kept his eyes fixed on the wall just behind her head, patient. His paw unconsciously turned and returned a small pebble in his pocket, caressing along the line of a single great red stripe. "Then permission is granted." Beaver let go the breath he had been holding. "Whew. Begin construction as soon as you are able, Under-General. And good luck." She smiled warmly, but the burden of her long years of leadership showed through her sagging cheeks. "We will be watching." Beaver smartly untucked and retucked his stick, slapped his tail once against the packed ground in assent. "Yes, ma'am. Longest. I'll begin right away." He turned on his heel and marched out of the chamber. It was the first day of summer. It was going to be a long and exciting season. At first, the build crews the longest had placed under his command were reticent. "What are we building?" they would complain. "What does it do?" When Beaver said nothing and admonished them to follow instructions, their eyes flickered nervously to the building across the river. "Maybe it's something to help us fish the river," Corinth Blue Eye speculated. "Did you hear? Denny Strongpaw almost got swept away yesterday. And his whole crew." "He did? But Denny's the strongest fisher we have," Shelby Tunneler sighed. "Ah, this river. It's so fast." Yes, yes," retorted maddened Sharptooth. "But fishing will not win us the war. We must focus on the war." And the others agreed and went back to their building. Sometimes the longest would come to check on the machine, casting her critical eye over every joint and pillar. Most often, she went back below with hardly a word to Beaver, appraising, wearing her doubt like a shawl. But as the summer season progressed, the mood began to shift. Crews would show up to their duties early. They smiled more. They stood up straighter when Beaver came by them or looked to them for progress. The machine, whatever it was taking shape, and its scale was impressive. It looked angry. It looked like the great weapon they all hoped and prayed it was. The crews began comparing their machine to the thing on the other side of the river. They even began trading barbs and joked with the beavers working on the other side. They pushed and prodded about who would finish their project first.
Ours is a ship to go to the sky, and from there, we'll drop stars on you, and we'll win the war.
Ha! Would come the reply. Ours is a wooden dragon who lives under the water, who can take us safely across this speeding river, and we'll come upon you unexpectedly, and we'll win the war. Days were marked now by hard work, and the sounds of challenge ricocheting across the water. Beaver, said the longest as she held onto his arm one day late into the summer sun, I don't need to tell you. The whole colony speaks of nothing but your machine. They are all so proud of you. Beaver nodded solemnly. Thank you, ma'am. But the season draws on. You must finish before the rains come. And then you'll have to finally tell us what this is that you've created. Beaver's paw found the lucky pebble in his pocket. Yes, ma'am, we will be done. And I will test it, and you will watch. You'll see the destruction of our enemy. The longest squeezed his arm affectionately, and together they looked out over the setting sun and the water. How you doing, buddy? Need a break? And then the day came. The crew stood around the great machine, eyeing with wonder the marvel that they had built. A few beaver folk noticed how similar theirs looked to the one across the river. But that was okay, they reasoned. They had been built facing each other after all. Beaver Proudtail strode up to the front of his machine. With his well-worn stick and his powerful bearing, he cut quite a figure. Corinth Blue-Eye and Shelby Tunneler stood just behind him, awaiting their orders. All right, Corinth. Beaver turned to face them. Do you have the rope? Yes, sir. Corinth turned to Shelby, who produced the end of a long length of woven rope from a basket in the base of the machine. Time to get me up there, then. With the end of the rope tied around his waist, Beaver climbed up to what looked like a large square of woven netting, pulled tightly back from its center by a thick cable. The cable was held by 4 whole crews of beaver folk, straining against the resistance of the net. The longest stood back at a safe distance, her shawl wrapped tightly around her shoulders to ward off the early autumn chill. Beaver settled himself right in the middle of the netting, at the last moment shaking his head in sudden memory. Here, he said to Shelby, and handed her his precious stick. I'll be back for this. Back? Queried Shelby. Ready, crews! Shouted Beaver. Ready, under general! Came the chorused reply. And loose! At their cue, the crews simultaneously released their hold on the cabling, and the netting rocketed forward, launching Beaver Proudtail out into the air. Great river! They cried in consternation and shock. What? Where is he gone? Is he all right? What have we done? The confusion was so great that not even the longest could restore order. Minutes passed before another shape came sailing over the river from the other side to plop safely and squarely into the center of the net. It was Beaver. He had the same square head and the same rope wrapped securely around his waist. Good log! What a ride! That's the most fun I've had in weeks, said the shape in the net. He began to disentangle himself and stand up. And it wasn't Beaver after all. The royal of the crews was instant and a bit frightening. Who is this? Who are you? they cried, and the longest shouted at the top of her lungs, "Detain the stranger!" The crews pulled him down from the net, and the stranger never stopped smiling, greeting them warmly, even patting some of the beaver folk on the back. He looked just like Beaver. But Beaver never smiled like that. Beaver hardly smiled at all, come to think of it. "I can understand your confusion," said the stranger genially. "Beaver and I looked so much alike, even when we were kids. My name is Builder. Builder Jumpfoot." When no reply or greeting was forthcoming, Builder went on. "I'm from the colony across the river." Oh, the silence was absolute. Across the river? How was that possible? Was he a weapon? Where was Beaver? How were they ever to get him back? Builder just smiled, absolutely at his ease, seemingly pleased as punch to be among all these new friends. And into this silence sailed the figure of Beaver, a new rope tied around his waist. There were now 3 lines of thick rope across the river. Beaver landed expertly in the center of the net, untied his waist rope, and climbed down. "You are Builder?" Beaver reached out his paw to the stranger. "And you could only be Beaver," the stranger exclaimed, gripping that paw warmly with his own. "I am Builder indeed, and it has been the dream of my life to finally meet you like this, in the daylight, on the same soil." "Mine as well, my friend." Beaver, for the first time in his life, allowed himself a great, eye-crinkling smile. "I almost can't believe it worked." "Now, wait just a minute," trilled the longest, making her slow path down to the machine. "What on Riverbank is happening here? We are at war, Beaver. And Builder, too. You both should know better. Beaver, you promised us that your machine would win the war, and here you have brought the enemy you promised to destroy right to the mouth of our colony tunnel." Beaver turned to the longest with an open face. "Yes, ma'am, I did. I believe you'll agree, though, that I have won the war. We have all won the war, because the war is over." The longest stared. "The machines that we have built will allow us to become not 2 colonies at war, but a single colony, united. The machines are designed to dam this river, ma'am," offered Builder. "I believe you have the same dangers with fishing and swimming that we do. That you have never crossed it?" The crews cackled at the absurdity of ever crossing this raging river. "We have no need to fight the river now, you see," Builder continued. "We sail above it." "Just as the single pebble did long ago," whispered Beaver. Builder smiled. "We have already carried 3 great ropes from side to side between us, and it will be short work to have a whole net built across the river. Once the river is dammed, it will be a still pond, stocked with all the fish we could ever need, calm enough for us and our kits to play in. We will be a great community, the first colonies to ever cross water, the first ingenious constructors in the history of us." The crews were open-mouthed. Their paws hung still at their sides as they realized the magnitude of what they had accomplished. But would it truly be good, as they said? Who was really to say how this great feat would be remembered? The longest took a deep, rattling breath. "I can see why you did not tell us at first, Beaver, the true purpose of your machine." She glanced at him sidelong. "I surely would have said no. Nothing this daring has ever even been attempted before, let alone under the mask of subterfuge." Beaver looked up at her, suddenly a very young kid again in his heart. "Yes, that is true, ma'am. I have won the war. I have won by making it go away. We have all won it, by making friends out of old enemies. Ma'am, Mother, do you like it?" The longest looked fondly on her son, her serious and guarded and daring and wonderful son. "Yes, child, I have never been more proud of anyone. Builder guffawed and began to dance around, slapping Beaver brazenly and companionably on his back. Beaver stood solemn, quiet, a gentle smile tickling the corners of his mouth, satisfied. It was, as they had promised, quick work to dam the river. Beaver and Builder were excellent guides, and the crew from both sides of the river proved naturally adept and joyous in their work. Before the autumn settled in, a great still pool existed between the two colonies. Kits splashing and playing, and parents fishing safely. Denny Strongpaw, the best fisher in the fast water, turned out to be the best fisher in still water too, much to his delight. And very early each morning, Beaver Proudtail still crept quietly from the colony and performed his morning rounds. He had never missed a day. But now, his favorite part of his patrol was seeing Builder Jumpfoot across the water and batting a very specific, very lucky, red striped pebble back and forth. That's just it. Thanks for listening all the way through. Good night, buddy. Well, of all the unexpected things. You really listened to me. You really listened to one of my stories all the way through, even though we're all grown up now. I've collected them all over so many years and kept them shiny and safe, waiting for someone. Well, waiting for you, really, to come back and listen. And you did. I can't tell you how touched I am. But the unexpected part is how I feel. I've always loved you, you know, even when we were little. We were so young. And I always wanted to protect you. But then with all the time we had apart, how much you've changed and turned into such a remarkable and generous person, I find that I love you. How would you feel about making some of our own stories together? I'll bet we could find some new things to advise each other about, too. You feel the same way? Buckle up, buddy. There are so many stories I get to tell you now. Love you, buddy. Oh, you're back. My goodness, what a sensation. I've missed you more this time than last time. Who would have thought that I could love you more? Would you like to hear another story? Really? Oh, oh my. Well, I've been waiting for this longer than I could even say. And you're ready? I mean, you have everything you need.
Come on, Teddy. Let's see how you snuggle in the real world.
The spectral energy flows through your Dateviators, and what was once merely a teddy bear becomes...
Ha!
Teddy holds his hands out in front of him, clearly marveling at the lack of stitches and stuffing in his new body.
My, oh my, would you look at that? I'm a flesh and blood human being. Confess. And why now? You knew you were. You are always safe with me to tell me anything. It's my pleasure just to be here with you.
You might have expected Teddy to be a bit more taken aback by this confession, but the look he gives you proves that your feelings are no surprise to him, and entirely mutual.
Sexy. Well, actually, I can understand why that feeling would have been confusing for you before. And not to wiggle my own ears here, but I am. I've rather noticed that myself. What are we going to do about it? You mischievous little muffin. Let's not waste another minute.
Teddy's warmth and kindness make him just as giving a lover as you could have hoped. But where he truly shines is in the moments after. Lying in his arms might just be the closest thing to true bliss you've ever felt. Even as a human being, Teddy's cuddling is simply unbeatable. It's almost painful to imagine leaving his embrace, but the hug he gives you before he leaves the next morning softens the blow just a little. Teddy, as we all know, has been a giver of top-quality advice for most of his life. Armed with this skill and a love of the act itself, Teddy applied to be the host of a call-in advice show at a local radio station. He was hired on the spot. He was given a booth, a time slot of his own, and unlimited coffee from the cozy and excellent shop next door to the studio. As you might imagine, he became good friends with all of the employees at both businesses. It wasn't long before he was the go-to helpman for the entire neighborhood. For the first few months, Teddy was deliriously happy with his new job. He felt great empathy and fondness for his callers, and always tried his best to help them. Unsurprisingly, he created several new wonderful stories while on air to help illustrate his points. But after a while, he found himself becoming quite lonely.
I'd found myself right back in another closet. After getting to know you and receiving that splendid gift of humanity, I just couldn't spend another minute locked up in a little box all by myself.
Teddy began spending more and more of his time not in his booth, but at the coffee shop next door. It got to the point where he had a regular table, the one in the window alcove, and a regular order, strong black coffee and hazelnut honey cake. The day he knew he had at last found his place was the day he missed his show. He was sitting at his table with a lovely young woman named Moira. He listened enraptured to her tale about her dog and a cross-country road trip when he realized his time slot had ended 45 minutes ago.
I hadn't missed it at all, though, you see. I was so happy right where I was. I wouldn't have left Moira for all the money in that station.
So Teddy gave his notice at the studio. They were sorry to see him go. He'd become one of their most popular programs. But the employees knew they would see him again. Many of them had standing appointments with him at his window table, just to check in, just to say hi. He's also branched out just a bit. In addition to the honey cake, he also now enjoys the dark cherry and almond tart. In all the years since Teddy has taken up residence at the Bean, the only thing that has changed in his life has been a very slight relocation of seats due to drafts. At this point, it should go without saying, you have always been and will always be Teddy's favorite, and he will love to let you know it for the rest of his days.